The Labour government is arguing essentially that the legal system is about to fall over. So their radical solution to this is to abolish jury trials.
It shocks my conscience that that's the solution. We have to push back to the point where they stop. Judges are not juries. I mean, they're distinctly different, and judges do not like, at least here in the United States, I assume it's the same in the UK, but they do not like being the decision makers.
Christina Bobb. Christina, I'm going to, as a lawyer and as an American, pick your brains on something that's happening in the United Kingdom now. There's a massive post-COVID and actually post, the just not lack of funding in the British judiciary. That means there's a backlog of 100,000 odd cases waiting trial. If you're arrested now, and charged, you're unlikely to be on trial for 4 years, which it's leaving people in emotional and unfair limbo, both victims and the accused. The Labour government is arguing essentially that the legal system is about to fall over. They're already sort of, courts are sitting in they call them Nightingale courts. Basically, they're sitting in classrooms. They're trying to rapidly expand it, but they just cannot keep up. So their radical solution to this is to abolish jury trials, which, I mean, we say it's enshrined in the British Constitution, but the British Constitution it doesn't exist. It's vibes. It's conventions. It's lots of pieces of legislation. For basically anything that is not a case of murder, rape, or this is very, very serious crime, you're essentially going to have your fate decided by a judge. And I wonder how, as a lawyer and an American, you would put up with that. Well,
as an American, and I'm currently a criminal defendant right now, out in Arizona. That case is hopefully
still going on.
It's still going on, but I know the pain of having it languish for years at this point.
But you wouldn't want a judge to decide that. You want a jury of your peers. Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, absolutely not. It shocks my conscience that that's the solution. So as you were mentioning, we've got this 100,000 case backlog. To me, the first thing I thought, the logical, most sensical solution to the problem is dismiss the lower cases. Just dismiss them. I mean, if you're allowing these people to languish for 4 years, I'm assuming most of them are not.
No, they're all on bail. Most of them aren't even tagged. Yeah.
Let them go.
Just let them
go.
Would be less offensive. I mean, you can imagine that a government that, a government would be, would take a lot of heat. Last year, they had to let a lot of people out, reducing their sentences by 3/4 because they just didn't have the prison capacity for people. And there was a big old stink about it. But it passed. People kind of understood. Do you think that actually the sort of moral position is actually more outrageous to end
100%.
1,500 years of jury trial, rather than letting a couple, letting some pretty unsavoury people not be brought to justice?
1,000%. We have case law here in the United States, just judicial opinion that says, it's better to let 10 guilty men go free than to incarcerate one innocent person, because that's a little bit of a different situation than what you're talking about. But my point is, it's much easier to tolerate letting guilty people, even these are guilty, the people that we're talking about have not even been found guilty.
No, they've been charged, but
they've been charged but not found guilty. So it's much easier on the conscience to just say, especially as you're saying, they're not murder, it's not rape, it's not physical harm on people. Just let them go.
But some of the world's biggest drug dealers, you could be on trial for a sort of $40 million, £50 million cocaine trial, and you're going to be decided by a judge rather than
Absolutely
jury.
not. And I can tell you from my own experience in my case, as well as working in the legal system with the election challenges and just the litigation in general that I've been involved in, judges are not juries. I mean, they're distinctly different, and judges do not like, at least here in the United States, I assume it's the same in the UK, but they do not like being the decision maker. They don't want to be the ones to make the hard decision. And so they punt on a lot of difficult decisions, which to me as a criminal defendant, I would be very concerned about that.
It's slightly tricky as well because you've got the political angle with the judiciary here, which we don't really have it. You don't have it at a bench level. You'd have it, the political appointment at the top, but judges are essentially not big capital P political.
In the UK or here?
In the UK.
Okay.
Which gives it a little bit of leeway, I suppose. You can argue it's, But I mean, if you look at some of the appeals that have come through, if you look at some of the kowtowing to the European Courts of Human Justice, if you look at some of the stuff that these judges have turned over, they may not be party political, but they're definitely
establishment political.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it goes back to that sort of idea of it's not definitely left and right, but it's definitely the establishment.
Us versus them.
Yeah, and I think putting people's lives in the hands of these people, who are essentially unaccountable, because the second you criticise a judge in the UK, you are, it's uproar, it's outrage. You can't, there's a sort of hallowedness that they must be above the law or above any criticism because they're judges.
Yeah.
Which you don't really have here. It's much more of a sort of talking point here. It just strikes. Could you conceive of any way they could sort of pass this off as a good thing?
Pass it off as a good thing? No, absolutely not. There's nothing good about it.
How do you think American civil liberties groups and the American public would react if imagine if Trump had tried this?
Oh, well, if it depends on whether Trump's the one doing away with jury trials or if he's the one being charged and they're doing away with the jury trial. The result will be very different. And so I think, and that's unfortunate, at least here in the United States. You can tell me about the UK, but here in the United States, our criminal process, for the first time, at least ever that I've seen ever in my life, really starting back with the Russiagate stuff and then certainly during the Biden years, that was the first time that I became aware of, I think it probably happened before, but I wasn't aware of how political our criminal justice system has become, which is, it's a very, very scary dynamic to be happening because it's basically it's rapidly approaching the point where if you don't win on your political point, your opponent that you lose to is going to throw you in jail.
Yeah.
And
well, we're seeing that. We were talking about this with the Jack Smith stuff and the Lawfare stuff, and then he now been indicted. The Operation Arctic Fox stuff. We've seen the sort of pendulum as sort of swings backwards one way. You've been through the.
Yeah, I was part of Arctic Frost as well.
You've been at the forefront of this. Do you think we've reached a stage now in America where there's sort of I think we've discussed this before. Where it's going after your political opponents after they've left office for fraud charges or whatever it is. Is the sort of actions of Brazil, France, tin pot republics of Africa. I mean, shouldn't America kind of be above this? And at some point, someone's got to call time on this and just say enough.
Yes, I do agree with that. I think the concern that I have, again, as a current criminal defendant is, but those that are charging us, they're not stopping.
Yeah, well, this is the Mike Davis thing, isn't it? His mantra of, two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even. So.
Right. I don't think we will ever get to even. I hope we don't get to even, because if we get to even, that means that the conservatives are charging a lot of people. Like, I don't want to try to make things even.
You don't want to do you don't want to do to them what they did.
But we have to push
to you.
Exactly. But we have to push back to the point where they stop. Right. And so there's two ways to get out of this conundrum. The people who have started the abuse can voluntarily stop and say, look, we recognize we crossed a Rubicon we didn't mean to cross. We're going to back up, which isn't happening. We haven't seen from anybody.
Of course.
And then the other option is, okay, they're not backing up. We have to push them back. And you do that through criminal prosecution.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I would prefer that they voluntarily admit that they went too far and stop. And if they don't want to do that, then we have to push back just to the point where they do. I have no visions of let's prosecute 1,000 people or just
let's tap the phones of half the Democratic Party.
Yes, I don't want to do that.
Pull the data and all that.
100%. We need to do away with FISA, which I find it ironic that it's Republicans that keep voting to up FISA, and yet they're the ones that are getting surveilled. And it's like.
But they should do Letitia James's mortgage. You'd argue.
I mean, I think
Comey's.
There are cases I would like to see the DOJ prosecute. Whether they prosecute Letitia James or Comey or John Bolton for that matter. That's up to Pam Bondi and her attorneys.
We've talked about Pete Hesketh being in a bit of trouble. Pam Bondi, she's had to have a bit of a rocky start. I mean, the Epstein stuff was not handled brilliantly. I don't think Pam Bondi would say that it was. She seems to be slightly in the firing line alongside sort of Cash Patel at the FBI. There seems to be, of a tier of cabinet people level appointments. That's the sort of, they're the ones that seem to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Again, do you think it's just with the sort of similar to the Hesketh thing of they think they're easy targets? Obviously, they are highly political.
They're the most prominent
people.
targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Do you
think
think there is as much trouble as, again, if you put on MSNBC or MSN now,
Right.
whatever it is, or CNN, you'd think they were on the brink?
Right. I do not think they're on the brink. I think Pam Bondi is solidly in President Trump's corner.
Yeah.
I think he thinks she's in his corner, which matters. I think he sees her as someone who's very loyal to him. I think she is very loyal to him. So I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she gets a lot of flack for things that she didn't do. I agree with you on the Epstein stuff. It didn't go well. It was
Well, the Comey stuff doesn't go very well either.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she is taking flack for things that she herself isn't necessarily doing. She is the Attorney General, so the buck stops with her. So I'm not absolving her.
But then she
of
has
that.
got a president breathing down on her neck saying, do more, do more, do more.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
Yeah, well, that's the way he is, right? I work for him. He's going to be like, yep, I'm loyal, we're great, but I'm going to squeeze every ounce out of you that I can. And that's what he's doing with her.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Christina Bobb, former Trump attorney. Author, tell us about the book again. Give us the book a plug.
Yes, Defiant, Inside the Mar-a-Lago Raid and the Left's Ongoing Lawfare. President Trump did the forward for it. I was his custodian of records and attorney on site during the raid, so I give you all the dirty details and text messages and emails.
All the nitty-gritty. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Come again and see us soon. Christina Bobb, thank you.
Thank you so much.